Episode 336. Europe signs up to the Global AI Treaty.
The primitive forms of artificial intelligence we already have proved very useful.
AI is a golden opportunity.
How do we ensure that this technology is regulated?
The long arc of technological history is now in an extraordinary new phase.
The AI6 podcast with Joanne Sweeney.
The European Parliament has backed the EU's decision to join a new international AI treaty led by the Council of Europe. What does that mean? Well, how we make sure AI respects people, democracy and the rule of law. Hello, and you're very welcome back to AI6, the podcast that shows up 6 days a week so that you can learn all about artificial intelligence in a way that doesn't bring you overwhelm. I'm your host, Joanne Sweeney. So in this episode, I'll explain what this new treaty is, why the Parliament's decision matters, and what it could mean for governments, companies, and all of us who now live with AI every day. So last week, members of the European Parliament voted to give the EU the green light to join a new treaty on artificial intelligence. In practice, that means the EU can now go ahead, sign it, and later fully ratify it. The treaty is called the Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence and Human Rights, Democracy and the Rule of Law. The name is a mouthful, but the idea is quite straightforward. Countries agree that whenever they develop or use AI, they have to protect people's fundamental rights and democratic values. The Parliament's vote doesn't bring the treaty into force on its own, but it is a key political step. It shows that the EU wants to be inside the room, not outside, when the rules of global AI governance are being written. This, in fact, is the first legally binding international agreement focused specifically on AI. It's being developed by the Council of Europe, and that's the human rights body behind the European Convention on Human Rights and the European Court of Human Rights, and it's not an EU institution. The core message of the treaty is AI cannot be treated as a free-for-all. Whenever AI systems are designed, trained, deployed, or used, states must make sure they respect three major pillars: human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. So countries that sign up are committing to assess and manage the risks of AI systems, especially when they affect people's rights. Ensure that AI systems are transparent and, as far as possible, explainable. Put in place oversight, accountability, and ways for people to challenge harmful AI-driven decisions. Importantly, this is not just about governments. While the treaty is addressed to states, it also covers situations where private companies build or run AI systems that can impact rights or democratic processes. So think of automated welfare decisions, predictive policing, algorithmic hiring, deep fakes used in elections. All of these fall within the scope. And you're probably asking, well, we already have an EU AI Act, right? Well, the AI Act has been agreed and is now moving towards application from later this year. The AI Act is a detailed risk-based regulation that applies inside the EU single market. It sets out concrete rules for high-risk systems, bans some uses, and demands strict obligations from developers and deployers. The new AI treaty plays a different role. Think of it as a global floor, while the AI Act is the EU ceiling. The treaty sets the minimum that any signatory state must do to keep AI compatible with human rights and democracy. The EU AI Act then goes further with more detailed and stricter obligations for anyone placing AI on the EU market. The treaty has been drafted in a way that fits with existing EU law. For Brussels, this is not about rewriting the EU AI Act. It's about exporting the EU's human-centric, risk-based approach into a broader international setting so that Europe isn't an island, a continent with one set of values, and the rest of the world doing something completely different. This is the first binding AI treaty that countries beyond the EU can join. It's open to non-EU states in the Council of Europe and potentially even to some countries outside of Europe. That means it can become the default baseline for how AI is governed across a much wider region. Second, it's part of a bigger story, a race to set the rules of AI at the global level. The US, China, the EU, the UK, the G7, the UN, everyone is trying to shape the narrative. With this treaty, the human rights community is saying AI governance has to start from rights, democracy, and the rule of law, and not just from innovation and competition. And for companies and public bodies working across borders, common principles matter. If more countries sign up, you get a more predictable environment. Similar expectations on transparency, accountability, and risk management, rather than a patchwork of completely different national rules. For the EU, this will sit alongside the EU AI Act, GDPR, and the Charter of Fundamental Rights, reinforcing the idea that AI in Europe is not just about innovation, but as much about rights and democratic values. That's it for today's show. If you're ready to turn these insights into skills, here's how I can help. Get your copy of my book, AI Playbook, on Amazon. It's the perfect companion to the show. For weekly AI strategy, subscribe to my newsletter, Human in the Loop, on LinkedIn. Or if you want to take the next big step, you can take our CPD accredited professional diploma in AI. Maybe you need something more tailored for your organisation. You can book a call in my calendar at digitaltraining.ie. Or if you work in government or public sector, go over to publicsectormarketingpros.com. If you found this episode useful, please share it with a pro that you know. And I'd love to read your comments on Spotify. And if you can, take a second to like, rate, or subscribe wherever you listen. It really helps the show. This is AI6. I'll talk to you on the next episode.